Hi, everyone, and welcome to this latest edition of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. I'm your beat reporter for Michigan State Spartans on SI, Aiden Champion. We just finished wrapping up the offensive side of the ball, looking at all those position groups and where they stand at this point in the offseason and how they're looking going into fall camp. Now we're going to take a look over at the defensive side of the ball, starting with the linebacker position, a group that was very deep last year, and it's looking like it's going to be pretty deep again this year, returning a lot of guys from last year's roster. Obviously, you lose Cal Halliday and Jordan Hall, um, and you know that those are two spots that are going to have to be replaced. But you got enough veterans here where I think they're ready to step up and take on that responsibility. Namely, you know, you got Jordan Hall, obviously had a really big freshman season with the Spartans, and I think there were a lot of high expectations for him going into his second year, but was kind of had an underwhelming second season. Only made one start and 11 appearances, and I just he's a guy who I think now that you're going into year three, it's kind of the pressure's on to really put together solid season as a starter. I think you're going to be looked at as kind of the leader of this room, not necessarily because you're the best, because you've been with this program now 3 seasons, and I think he carries a lot of responsibility in this room, and you got some pretty young guys behind you. A lot of them who were here last year but were young and don't have nearly the same level of experience. So he's going to need to step up as a leader. Alongside him, of course, Wayne Matthews, who, wasn't the ideal first season for him last year, went down with an injury, missed the last 3 games of the year. And if you remember, he was a really highly touted transfer when he came in 135 tackles at Old Dominion in 2023. Um, there was a lot of excitement when the Spartans brought him in, and I think that just was a um, little bit of a setback for him. Obviously, the injury played a role, but you know, I don't think he ever really fully got himself going, or was at the same level that fans were expecting him to be at. And I expect that to change this season, especially when he's going to have a larger role and more experience. Now there's that familiarity. And I think that's going to be, the overall theme for this group is experience. Because, like I said, it's a room with a lot of returning guys, mixture of guys who didn't see the field a whole lot last year, and then some guys who did. And I think it's crucial that they've all played together and have all been in Joe Rossi's scheme. And I think that there's a lot to be said about um, that familiarity, that chemistry, and when you talk about experience, you got to talk about a guy like Darius Snow who has a lot of it. It seems like he's been here forever. A guy who I give a lot of credit to because those 2 season-ending injuries, 22 and 23, that can really um, that can discourage you a lot, especially when you got to think about health. And this is a guy who takes football seriously, but also takes uh, everything off the field very seriously. A guy who studies his butt off and has got multiple degrees and um, just overall really well-rounded guy, good, really good guy. Um, and I'm happy for him that he was able to get back out there last year. And I think it was 11 games he played in, and he's going to be called upon to step up big again this season. If you remember, he had a great 21 season, the Kenneth Walker year when he had 87 tackles. That was back when he was in the secondary. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him back there again this year, especially with kind of the uncertainty. Um, doesn't seem to be uh, spots don't seem to be too set in stone as far as the defensive back area of the field goes. You got bodies there now, but I think there's going to be a lot of competition and starting spots to be figured out in fall camp. So, um, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him maybe playing some nickel again. Um, but wherever he's at, I expect him to have a solid season to kind of close out his career as a Spartan. And I just want to say again that he could have left a long time ago, and it says a lot that he has stuck through it, um, has remained a Spartan this whole time, and um, I do hope that he has a great season because I think he's still capable of it. I mean, Joe Rossi had said back in the spring that, last year at this time it was kind of okay, coming back from injury, um, season-ending injury. You're kind of worried about just getting back into the swing of things. Well, now that's not an issue. Now you can worry about football, you can worry about um, you know getting your head in the books and just focusing strictly on building off of last year. And um, again, he was able to play in this system like all these guys I've mentioned, um, and so that familiarity continues to be a theme. So be on the lookout for Darius Snow. I know he's kind of a fan favorite with this program. And then kind of looking behind those guys, some guys who had some experience last year, kind of up and comers, who will probably be in the mix, see more significant snaps this season. You think of Polian, Pretzloff, I'm sorry. Um, and then Smaj Bridge, Smaj Bridgman from Michigan, if you remember, transferred over last year and um, was really just a special teams guy. But um, those are three guys who have a year in the system under their belt now and could all be in the mix. So I expect they're looking at kind of the second string. There being a lot of competition in camp there for the young guys to kind of prove themselves. So I think there's a lot of excitement, reason to be excited about this room because it's not like you've got new guys or there's no chemistry. I think you've got something kind of already established here that you can build on, and you know I think this room could take a step, and I think it's in good hands after the departures of Jordan Turner and Cal Halliday. So, and then of course Scott Faith and Joe Rossi. um, as always, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you next time. Hope you have a great weekend. Thanks.